The worst of all time. That's how President Donald Trump described the photo that Time magazine used to tout his Mideast success plan. His triumph is what the cover reads, with a large photo of President Donald Trump taken from, like, the ground, it looks like. And they wrote, the leader Israel needed, how Gaza heals. And President Donald Trump saw the story. He saw the article. He saw the photo on the front of the magazine, and he was not happy. And when Donald Trump's not happy, he goes to Truth Social and he tells everybody about it. He wrote, Time magazine wrote a relatively good story about me, but the picture may be the worst of all time. They, quote, disappeared my hair and then had something floating on top of my head that looked like a floating crown, but an extremely small one. Really weird. I never liked taking pictures from underneath angles, but this is a super bad picture and deserves to be called out. What are they doing and why? This is, to me, a very important moment in history, because the leader of the free world, the most powerful president we've ever had, the one man who was able to bring together a coalition of dozens and dozens of countries to negotiate peace in a Middle Eastern region that has been battling for 3,000 years. A guy who was able to release 20 hostages from Gaza, over 1,000 prisoners from Israel, demilitarize the entire zone, denuclearize Iran. This man is as concerned about the way that he looks in photos as the rest of us are. And he's not afraid to let Time magazine know exactly how he feels. His triumph, the leader Israel needed, but he hates his hair in the photo that Time magazine used. And you know what? Look, I'm not saying that I'm not an expert on hair myself, but I'm just saying that they probably could have chosen a more flattering photo, and maybe there's a reason they didn't. Maybe because even though Donald Trump has done something that no other world leader has ever been able to do, the media still can't stomach to tout his glory or to praise him in the way that he deserves to be praised. Even though some news organizations, and NBC, CBS, the major news networks, they had no choice but to report positively on President Donald Trump.
From the moment he landed in Israel, the words "thank you" visible from Air Force One and billboards here expressing gratitude. President Trump basked in the praise of a country that credits him more than its own prime minister for today's long-awaited reunions. The president's name echoing through Israel's parliament as he touted his landmark diplomatic success.
This is the end of an age of terror and death. This is the historic dawn of a new Middle East.
Netanyahu praising his American ally.
Donald Trump is the greatest friend that the state of Israel has ever had in the White House.
Going off script, the president called on his Israeli counterpart to pardon Netanyahu, who was indicted for allegedly accepting expensive gifts, which he denies.
Cigars and champagne, who the hell cares about that?
The president then heading to Egypt for a peace signing ceremony with Arab nations and other world leaders who back the deal.
Peace has been achieved after untiring efforts led by President Trump.
Led by President Donald Trump, and of course, accomplished by President Donald Trump and many other leaders. But he, of course, was the spearhead that put this all together. CBS said that there's never been more of a chance of peace in this region than with President Donald Trump in office.
There is more hope for peace in the Middle East tonight than there has been in a very long time. Hamas today released the last of the surviving Israelis held hostage since October 7th, 2023. And Israel, in turn, freed hundreds of Palestinian prisoners and detainees.
This is the first phase of the Trump peace plan. But remember, it is a 20-point plan, and there's still a long way to go.
Yeah, of course, there's a long way to go with any peace plan. President Donald Trump, though, being heralded around the world and celebrated, even with what he calls the worst photo of all time plastered on top. Don't imagine that this copy of Time magazine will get a place of honor in the Oval Office. I know there are other copies of other Time magazines, the one where he has his fist in the air, for example, the one of his official portrait. Those have places of prominence, I'm sure, around the White House. I don't believe that this particular Time magazine cover will be framed and put anywhere near the Oval Office and the Resolute desk. I imagine President Donald Trump will not want to see this one ever ever again. But yesterday was a tremendous day for peace, and President Donald Trump says even though he's getting the credit, it wasn't just him. It was a coalition of so many willing and helpful countries, many of whom you wouldn't even believe.
Well, we had a lot of great success and a lot of great countries that wanted this to happen. You know, countries that you wouldn't think. Qatar was fantastic. Saudi Arabia was fantastic. UAE was fantastic. Jordan, the King Abdullah was, he just couldn't have been nicer. I call him general, but president, you can call him whatever you want. But El-Sisi, strong, tough, like an unbelievable guy. They all wanted to see this happen. That's the amazing thing. Everybody came together at this point. If you go back 6 months or 7 months, you would have said a thing like this is impossible. I mean, we have 35 different countries over there, all there, just about all with their leaders, not just, sending somebody over. And they all wanted this to happen. And I think I had a big impact, but, I can have a big impact. If they don't want it to happen, it's not going to happen. They all wanted this to happen, and it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I mean, I watched your coverage, and I really appreciate it. You're a real professional, not because it's good or bad. You're just really professional. It'd be great if other people could do what you do, because, they put negative spins. But even if you look at the spin that the other, I would call them the fake news, has been putting on it, everybody's been positive. It's sort of a miracle, actually.
It is. It's a miracle. It's a coming together of all of these groups, all of these countries. And of course, the media, even you have something that's so powerful, so incredible that even the media can't spin it negatively. And it's because, again, everybody in the world has come together and done what they needed to do. And Egypt, which is a country which goes, sometimes they're friendly, sometimes they're not so friendly, sometimes they support Hamas, sometimes they don't. But Egypt played a very important role, President Donald Trump said, and they were the launching pad for peace, because that's where everybody around the globe, Keir Starmer, Giorgia Meloni from Italy, Mark Carney, everybody wanted to be there. They flew in from Europe and every single point around the Middle East to join President Donald Trump on this historic day.
Sir, what will Egypt's role play in the peace process here?
He played a very important role, and they had a very important role with Hamas. In fact, the general was right here, was very instrumental, because Hamas respects this country and they respect the leadership of Egypt. So he played a very important role. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's something that's going to be important moving forward, too, because Egypt is respected by Hamas. Egypt is respected by the people of Gaza, and Egypt may be a landing place for people in Gaza while they rebuild the country. And that is what is going to be the next possible step. That is going to be exactly what Donald Trump has envisioned and what needs to happen. The rebuilding of a brand new Middle East, especially Gaza.
We've all agreed that supporting Gaza must be done to lift up the people themselves, but we don't want to fund anything having to do with the bloodshed, hatred, or terror, as has happened in the past. And for the same reason, we're also agreed that Gaza's reconstruction requires that it be demilitarized and that a new, honest civilian police force must be allowed to create a safe condition for the people in Gaza.
All right, so Gaza is going to have a safe police force, a new coalition. It's going to have new investment. And when he says things must be safe for the people in Gaza, he means not just the Gazans who are there now or the people that are relocating back to their homeland, but also the new people that are going to be coming in to rebuild it. Because you have a coalition of countries from the Middle East, from Europe, from the United States of America. These people have agreed and have pledged to invest in Gaza and the rebuilding of this region. These people have agreed and pledged probably trillions of dollars to create an incredible community and an incredible area where Gaza now stands, where the rubble is. They will rise from the ashes and, like the phoenix, create this incredible opportunity for everybody globally. But Donald Trump says, look, that's important that we make sure that it's safe, because we don't just have Gazans living there. We don't just have locals living there, Palestinians. We're going to have an entire international culture living there, and everybody needs to know that they are out of harm's way.
The momentous breakthrough that we're here to celebrate tonight is more than the end of the war in Gaza. It's with God's help. It'll be the new beginning for an entire beautiful Middle East. From this moment forward, we can build a region that's strong and stable and prosperous and united in rejecting the path of terror once and for all. We want
Yeah, we want to look at, we got an economically viable, and that's really what it all boils down to. President Donald Trump was able to make this deal because President Donald Trump knows that deals include money, monetary value. What's in it for me? He knows that the only way to bring peace to a region is to stabilize the region, and the only way to stabilize a region is to have people invest their hard-earned cash in it. If you invest money in a region, you're going to do whatever you can to keep it safe. If you buy a house, if you buy like a really nice house in a really nice neighborhood, you're going to make sure that you have locks on the doors. You're going to make sure that you have a security system. You're going to make sure that you have cameras. You may even pay a little more so that you can live in a gated community. You may have a private security team that comes and rolls around. Why? Because you want to keep your investment safe. You're going to have fire insurance, and you're going to have fire extinguishers, and you're going to have smoke detectors. You're going to have everything you need to make sure that your investment is solid and secure. It's the same with Gaza. As Donald Trump has invested his time and as the rest of the world invests their money, he's going to make sure that it is 100% safe. And that's one of the big reasons why Iran was bombed back to oblivion and why they are no longer a threat of nuclear. Their threat of nuclear capable Iran exists. It was a mandatory part in the peace process. Donald Trump knew it. Israel knew it. Gaza knew it. Let's face it. Iran knew it. And there may be actually a place for Iran in this new Middle Eastern golden age.
In Israel just now, you were talking about a possible Iran peace deal. You said, we are ready when you are. Yeah. Is that the ultimate goal with today's signing, to get enough?
Not Iran, but I think Iran will come along. They've been battered and bruised, and, you know, they need some help. They have big sanctions, as you know, tremendous sanctions. I'd love to take the sanctions off when they're ready to talk. But they can't really survive with those sanctions. Those sanctions are very tough. But at some point they're going to say, we want the sanctions off. We're going to end up with peace. I think Iran is going to be fine. I know so many Iranian people. They're great people. They're smart, great people. Engineers, lawyers. I mean, they're academics. But they took a big hit. And frankly, if we didn't hit them with the nuclear, I don't think you would have been able to have this incredible, this deal, this once-in-a-lifetime deal. Nobody's ever seen anything like what's happening today. And countries have all come together, all different countries. Some liked each other, some didn't, most didn't. And they've all come together. Every country has come together. And by the way, Iran did put out a statement, you know, that they support this deal very wholeheartedly. So that was in itself something. But no, I think they want to, that's all I do in my life. I make deals, and they want to make a deal.
Iran wants to come to the table. Iran supporting peace between Gaza, or between Hamas and Israel, which is crazy because Iran has been for decades the largest state sponsor of terrorism. Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, a bunch of other terrorist organizations that begin with letters other than H. Iran is the one that takes the money, most of it from Barack Obama and the United States of America, and funnels it to terrorist organizations. And now not only have they been denuclearized, not only have their nuclear capabilities been destroyed by President Donald Trump, but now they're a potential peace partner in the Middle East. Only one person could make this happen, and that's the guy that's on the cover of Time magazine. Now that the hostages are home, there is a question of what comes next and what's the next part in this 20-point peace plan. And President Donald Trump said, look, we're already underway. We're already moving forward with it.
The living hostages have been returned. Can you please tell us what the next steps are?
Well, they're going and looking for bodies. It's a pretty gruesome task. And they know where numerous are, as you know. I guess 5 or 6 are in yet now. But they're looking for bodies. They know the areas, and the search parties out, and they're doing it in conjunction with Israel. And they're going to be finding quite a few of them.
Yeah, and then they're going to replace those, or bring them home, rather, return them to their loved ones so they can have the proper funerals. And then President Donald Trump, after all of this, by the way, after all this, which was, I mean, when you think about what President Donald Trump has accomplished, not just in the last few weeks, but in the last 36 hours, in fact, the White House, they released a statement, an excerpt rather. It was a description of President Donald Trump and what he's done over the last 36 hours in the past 24 hours. As the hostages were freed in the peace deal he brokered, President Trump flew to Israel, spoke to the press, met with Israeli leaders, spoke to the press, met with families of the hostages, delivered an hour-long speech to the Knesset, did an interview, flew to Egypt, met with the Egyptian president, spoke to the press, took photos and chatted individually with dozens of world leaders, signed the historic Gaza peace deal, delivered another speech, met privately with world leaders, flew back to the U.S., our great president of peace. And then what did he do on the plane ride back? Did he take a nap? Did he kick back with a Diet Coke and a cheeseburger and say, nobody talk to me, I'm done? No. He actually went back to the bulkhead and to the press area on Air Force One, and he met with the press.
I get along with the tough ones. I don't get along with the weak ones. I get along with the tough ones. I don't know what that is, but Erdogan's been great with me. You know, when NATO has a problem with Erdogan, which they often do, they call me to talk to him. And I've never failed in working it out like immediately. Is that right?
Yeah, President Donald Trump talking about how he gets along great with world leaders, but only the tough ones, not the weak ones. And speaking of weak leaders, he actually had some messages for Governor Pritzker back on the domestic front.
I'll be speaking to Governor J.B. Pritzker tomorrow. Do you have any messages or questions for him?
Well, I think he should beg for help because he's running a bad operation. He's letting people be killed in his city because he doesn't want in Chicago. And I love Chicago. Chicago could be a great city again, and very quickly. I would have Chicago cleaned out, the criminals removed, we would remove them. You know, in D.C., we took out 1,700 career criminals, hard-line criminals. That's why it's so good right now. D.C.'s setting records the other way. It's never been so safe. And the restaurants have never done better business. They're opening up new restaurants. They were closing restaurants, now they're opening new restaurants. I can do the same thing on a larger scale in Chicago. And Pritzker should ask me to do it. But when you mention insurrection, I mean, you were the one that mentioned, one of you mentioned insurrection. I could do that. And many presidents have.
Do you have an update on
50%, Katie, 50% of the presidents have used the insurrection because they don't want to go through this stuff where somebody said there's no crime and 4,000 people got shot.
Yeah, no crime, but 4,000 people have been shot. That's J.B. Pritzker's idea of what a successful city looks like and what a successful governor and mayor can do. Donald Trump has a much different opinion. And that is something that we will cover later on in our second daily podcast, Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Incidentally, if you're ever wondering how President Donald Trump can be so effective, how he can handle multiple things on multiple different levels and do it in a way that just is unlike anyone has ever done before, you should get a copy of our new book, Go Trump Yourself, 10 Ways to Live Like Trump in Any Economy. This is a deep dive study on President Donald Trump. This is real stories from his campaign, real stories from our interactions with Donald Trump's team and family on the campaign trail, and lessons, fun and exciting and entertaining lessons you can learn how you can live like Trump, how you can go Trump yourself and make sure that every deal you make is fair. Every deal you make gets you the most amount of return on your investment, how your relationships can be as strong as President Donald Trump's, and how you can succeed in every aspect of your life. The ebook and audiobook are bundled together for only $24. And if you'd like a copy, go to gotrumpyourself.com. I put a link directly to the website in the description of this video, so you can click there. You can get your downloadable copy instantly. Go Trump Yourself, the ebook and the audiobook as read by me. You can have that today, and you can go Trump yourself tomorrow.